I went camping last summer at the Velder Grove campsite. I needed to escape after a rough breakup. I thought a week alone would help me find peace in nature. I set up my tent near a cracked fire ring. The place felt empty and quiet, just the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. As the sun dipped, I lit a fire. The flames flickered, casting shadows around me. I toasted marshmallows and tried to forget my troubles. Then I heard something strange, tiny whispers. They seemed to float on the breeze. I dismissed it, thinking it was just the wind. It was probably my imagination, right? I tried to focus on the fire and enjoy my solitude. Each night, though, those whispers grew louder. I felt a chill in the air, even with the warmth from the fire. Sometimes I thought I saw movement between the trees, but I couldn't be sure. I tried to relax and finished my dinner, but every time I glanced around, I sensed I was not truly alone. On the second night, I noticed my flashlight was missing. I had left it on a log, but it was gone. I found it hidden in the bushes an hour later. I shook my head, figuring I must have overlooked it. I laughed to myself, trying to shake off the weird feeling creeping in, but still, I couldn't help but feel eyes on me from the dark. By the last night, things escalated. The whispers turned into soft voices, like conversations happening behind my back. My stomach twisted in knots. I glanced around in the dark, my heart racing. I kept telling myself it was just my brain playing tricks, but fear snagged at my thoughts. I heard a crunch of leaves behind me. My heart felt like it would burst. I stood up, scanning the tree line. I was alone, but still felt a presence. I thought I saw a shadow move, something unclear darting between the trees. The fire flickered, sending more shadows tumbling. The chill in the night air pressed down on me. Then I heard it, a voice faint and calling my name. It sent ice running through my veins. My hands trembled as I grabbed more firewood, wanting to feel safe. I wanted to scream, but my voice froze in my throat. Why was I so scared? In that moment, I turned, and I swear I saw a person standing at the edge of the firelight. They were pale and shadowy. I wanted to call out, but nothing came out. I blinked, and just like that, they were gone. The silence swallowed everything. That night was a blur. I didn't sleep. I kept hearing whispers, voices I couldn't understand. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what I saw, but I still think about it. The darkness just beyond the firelight. I didn't stick around for long after that last night. Dawn broke pale and grey, and I packed my things in a daze. The whispers still echoed in my mind, haunting the edges of my thoughts. As I rolled up my sleeping bag, I scanned the area, half expecting to see the shadowy figure again. But the campsite was quiet, just the rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. When I finally made it to my car, I felt a rush of relief. I drove away, leaving Velder Grove behind, but the unease stayed with me. I wanted to forget everything, but it lingered, like a fog that wouldn't lift. It was a week later when I returned to my normal routine. Work helped distract me, but even the simplest tasks felt strange. I kept looking over my shoulder, as if I could still feel those phantom eyes watching. I thought I was getting better, but then something happened that pulled me back. I received a package at my doorstep. It was small and unmarked. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside was my missing flashlight. It was dirty, covered in bits of leaves and twigs. Confusion twisted my stomach. How had it gotten back to me? I remembered finding it in the bushes, an hour after noticing it was missing. Had someone returned it? I turned it over in my hands, and that's when I caught a glimpse of something else inside the box. A note. It was hastily written, the letters scrawled in a way that made my skin crawl. Be careful. It's not safe at night. Chills ran down my spine. I wanted to dismiss it, to believe it was a prank, but the handwriting felt familiar. My head swirled with questions. Who sent this? Did they see what happened? As the sun set that evening, I felt the world close in around me. The weight of darkness returned. heavier than before. I opened the window to get some fresh air, but there was only silence. I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to go back to Velder Grove to find answers. I grabbed my things, my heartbeat quickening at the thought of returning. I needed to confront whatever darkness was lurking in those woods. The whispers hadn't left me, and neither had the figure. Maybe I could put everything to rest once and for all. Driving back felt surreal, each turn sending a thrill of unease through me. As I parked near the campsite, memories flooded my mind, images of firelight, the whispers, the figure. It felt like I was diving into the unknown. I set up my tent again, my hands trembling as darkness fell. I lit a small fire to keep warm, but a sense of dread loomed heavy. Waiting for something to happen felt like standing on a precipice. I couldn't shake the sense that I was being watched. Then I heard it again, a faint whisper calling my name just like before. It drifted through the trees, curling around me like smoke. This time I wouldn't turn away. This time I would face whatever lingered in the shadows. But that's when I felt it, a flutter of movement just beyond the firelight. I turned, and my breath caught in my throat. Someone was there. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was a trick of the light. But there he was, a figure standing just outside the reach of the fire's glow. Against the dark backdrop of the trees, he was barely more than a silhouette. "Who are you?" I called, my voice trembling. Silence hung heavy between us, thickening the air. I strained to see his face, but it was obscured by the darkness. "Your light brought me here," he finally said, his voice low and gravelly. My pulse quickened. I couldn't tell if he was warning me or beckoning me closer. "Why did you follow me?" I didn't know if I should be terrified or curious. Something about him seemed familiar, yet unsettling. "I tried to stop you," he said, taking a step closer, but halted as the light flickered. "It isn't safe here at night. You should have stayed away." Unease twisted in my gut. This man knew something I needed to learn. "What do you mean? What happened that night? Who were you?" He hesitated, then pointed towards the tree line. "They come when the sun goes down. You're not the first to hear them. You won't be the last." His words sank in, dredging up fragments of that night. The whispers, the shadows, were there others like me? "Are you saying I'm not alone?" I asked, my curiosity fighting the fear gnawing at me. "Not in the way you think," he said. "Sometimes they want to guide you. Other times they want something else." I shivered at the implication. My fingers gripped the edge of my seat. What do they want? But he didn't answer. Instead, he glanced around, as if sensing something lurking in the dark. "You need to leave. Now." "Leave?" I started, but my words were cut short by a sudden rustle from the trees. My heart raced as the sound grew louder. The air thickened with foreboding. "Don't stay here," he shouted, panic rising in his voice. I could see his features more clearly now, his eyes wide with fear, his brow knotted. I didn't need to be told twice. I grabbed my bag and stumbled back toward my car, but as I turned, I saw more shadows darting between the trees. The whispering intensified, wrapping around me like icy fingers. "Get in the car! Go!" the figure yelled, urgency in his tone. I hesitated, caught between the urge to help him and the instinct to flee. Then I noticed a movement beside him, a darker shape, shifting in the shadows, approaching. My heart thundered as I threw myself into my car, fumbling with the keys. "Drive! Depart!" he screamed, his voice urgent, cutting through the chaos. I didn't look back as I revved the engine and peeled away from the campsite. As I raced along the dirt road, I caught one final glance in my rearview mirror. He stood alone, swallowed by shadows. I felt the weight of his warning pressing on my chest. What had I just escaped? And what had awakened in the darkness? I wasn't free yet. Something lingered in my mind, and I could still feel it watching me from the depths of the trees. The drive back was a blur. I pressed the accelerator, feeling the gravel crunch beneath my tires. The woods closed in around me, dark and oppressive. I kept glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the figure emerging from the shadows. But there was nothing, just the road behind me stretching endlessly into darkness. My mind raced. Who was he? What did he mean by they? It was too much to process. I pulled over to the side of the worn road, heart still pounding. My breath came out in quick, uneven bursts. I needed to calm down, to think. I fumbled with my phone, but there was no signal, just a blank screen and a reminder of how isolated I was. All I could hear was the hum of the engine and the rustle of branches swaying in the wind. I rolled down the window, hoping the cool air could clear the suffocating fog in my mind. That's when I saw it, a faint glow in the tree line. It flickered and danced like a will-o'-the-wisp. My instincts screamed at me to stay put, but curiosity pulled me closer. I stepped out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath my sneakers. Every instinct told me to turn back, yet I found myself moving towards the light. The trees loomed high, their branches twisting like skeletal hands against the night sky. The glow pulsed, beckoning. As I drew near, I heard them, whispers threading through the air. They were soft, melodic, yet filled with an urgency that set my teeth on edge. "Come closer," they seemed to say. They seemed to. I hesitated. The memory of the figure's warning rushed back to me. The last thing I needed was to be drawn into whatever this was. But I still stepped closer, just out of reach of the light. My heart hammered as I strained to see more clearly. Suddenly, the glow brightened, illuminating the underbrush. That's when I noticed the shadow, shaped like a human, but still twisted and unnatural. The whispers stilled, replaced by an eerie silence. "What do you want?" I called into the darkness, my voice shaking. There was no response. The shadow loomed as if trying to decide whether to approach me or retreat. Fear coursed through me. I recalled the figure's words. Sometimes they want to guide you. Other times they want something else. I took a step back, logic battling the pull of intrigue. Then the figure lunged sideways into the woods, disappearing into the thick veil of trees. I felt an electric jolt of fear, but something else too, a flicker of hope. What if it had answers? Before I could think twice, I followed, my heart racing. The forest transformed, branches scraping at my arms, roots tripping me as I dashed after the shadow. Then the ground dropped away. I stumbled and fell, tumbling into a small clearing. I gasped for breath, glancing around, disoriented. And that's when I saw it, an object glinting in the harsh moonlight. It was an old locket, half buried in the dirt. Against my better judgment, I reached for it, my fingers trembling. Questions swirled in my mind. Whose is it? What does it mean? As I lifted the locket, a chill washed over me, and I felt the weight of unseen eyes watching. I had not escaped. I had only begun to uncover the truth. The locket felt heavier than it looked, almost alive in my palm. I flipped it over, inspecting the intricate designs. It was tarnished, but still beautiful. My mind raced with possibilities. Who had lost it? And why was it here? Suddenly I heard a crack behind me. Panic sliced through me like ice. I spun around, heart pounding in my chest. The shadows shifted, and for a brief moment I thought I saw a flash of movement. It was then that the air grew heavier, thick with a sense of being watched. I took a step back, clutching the locket tightly as I scanned the tree line. The last thing I wanted was to meet whatever lurked in the darkness. I remembered the warning and felt an urgency building. If I stayed here too long, I risked drawing attention to myself. I needed to leave. Quickly, as I turned to retrace my steps, I caught a glimpse of something glowing just beyond the trees. It radiated a soft light, like the distant flicker of fireflies. But I knew now that this wasn't a natural phenomenon. My gut twisted at the thought of what could be waiting there. Still, I couldn't help but be drawn to it. What if it held the answers I was searching for? I took a deep breath and edged toward the light, the locket heavy in my pocket. Each step felt like stepping into a trap. The whispers returned, echoing softly, swirling around me like a gentle breeze that brushed against my skin. "Help us," they pleaded. "Who are you?" I shouted into the quiet, trying to sound braver than I felt. The glow flickered as if responding, but my question hung there unanswered. I hesitated, frustrated. I wanted to scream, to demand clarity from whatever this was. I pressed on, inching forward, my body tense. Then everything went dark. The light vanished without warning, consumed by an unyielding blackness. I stumbled, my heart racing as I fumbled for my phone, praying for even the faintest glimmer of illumination. But the screen remained dark, unresponsive. Panic gripped me, and I could feel the cool breath of the forest against my skin. That's when I heard it, a low, guttural growl, echoing through the emptiness. "Who's there?" I croaked, my voice trembling. Silence answered, oppressive and suffocating. The growl returned, closer this time, mixed with shuffling footsteps. I felt trapped and exposed, out in the open without any way to defend myself. Then the shadows shifted again, and something stepped into the clearing. It was a figure, or at least the outline of one. My body went cold, every instinct screaming to run, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. "I need answers," I shouted, my voice cracking. I wasn't sure who or what I was addressing, but it felt like the only thing I could do in that moment. The figure moved closer, and I held my breath, bracing myself for whatever was about to happen. The darkness pressed in around us, and I could feel the weight of fate hanging in the air. My grip on the locket tightened, and I waited, heart racing, for whatever revelation or horror was coming next. The figure stepped into the faint light of the moon, and I squinted to make out its features. It looked human, but also not. Shadows seemed to cling to it, bending the shape of its body unnaturally. I stumbled backward, my hands shaking as I clutched the locket, as if it could protect me from whatever this was. "Who are you?" I repeated, my voice now a desperate whisper. It paused, tilting its head in a manner eerily reminiscent of curiosity. Part of me wanted to bolt, but I felt paralyzed, caught in the moment. The whispers filled the silence again, louder now, melding with the growls into a dissonant hum. "Help us! Help us!" they urged. The figure opened its mouth, and for a moment I thought I saw teeth, sharp, shining. My stomach churned with fear. "What do you want?" I yelled, trying to force some authority into my voice. Every instinct told me to flee, to run back to the safety of my home and forget this night. But I couldn't help myself. This was too important. "Must tell. Truth," it rasped, its voice low and crackling like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "Truth about what?" I challenged, my words shaky but defiant. Before it could respond, a sharp noise broke the tension, a crack, a snap behind me. I darted my gaze beyond the figure, heart pounding in my chest again. The tree line loomed dark and foreboding. "Get back!" I shouted instinctively, raising my hands. I didn't know who I was trying to protect, the figure or myself. The creature advanced, slow yet deliberate. I felt a sudden burst of anger mingled with fear. What was I even doing here? I just wanted answers, not whatever horror this was. Just as I was about to sprint away, the air shifted around us. The figure stopped, the whispers intensifying to a fever pitch. "No. Stay." I hesitated. What did it mean? Did it want me to confront the unknown rather than flee from it? But then I noticed something glittering behind the creature, something sharp and metallic that glinted in the dim light. My heart raced as I realized it was another locket, almost identical to the one I was holding. It was half buried in the dirt, its surface marred and darkened with age. "Leave it," the figure rasped, its voice angry this time. Before I knew it, I took a step toward the other locket. I felt an irresistible pull, as if it was calling to me, urging me forward. "Wait!" I shouted, but it was too late. The moment my fingers brushed against that cold metal, the world around me shifted. The figure let out a horrible screech, echoing through the forest, and the darkness seemed to swirl as a new presence surged forward. Suddenly, I was not alone. I could feel eyes watching from the tree line. Many of them. That's when I understood. This was only the beginning. A cold breeze swept through the clearing as I snatched the second locket from the dirt. The moment I lifted it from its resting place, the air crackled with an eerie energy. The figure's screech morphed into a twisted hiss, and I stumbled back, clutching both lockets like shields. "Why?" I gasped, feeling the weight of their significance, the pulse of something ancient flowing through me. The shadows around the figure twisted and grew darker, the eyes in the trees blinking in response to the sudden change. "Must know!" It spat, its voice simmering with rage. "You took what is not yours." Staring into the darkness, I forced myself to look away from the figure's grotesque form. I focused on the woods, seeking a safe path. But a shadow detached itself from the trees, sliding forward with a fluid grace. It looked just like the figure, but smaller, almost a child. Its eyes glowed with an unsettling light. "Help us," the smaller shadow echoed, its voice sweet and beckoning. "You have what we need. The truth can set you free." My heart thundered. What truth? I didn't even know what I had stumbled into. "I don't want anything to do with this," I yelled, stepping back. The ground felt alive beneath my feet, an urgency rising in me to escape, to run. But the two figures advanced. The larger one emerged from the shadows, reaching out with an elongated hand. "You are chosen, like the others. The locket binds us. Release it, and we shall aid you." "Help with what? Just tell me." I was losing my nerve. The forest felt smaller, suffocating. "Release her," the smaller figure said, its voice like a soft breeze. "She is trapped." "Trapped?" I echoed. A wave of indignation washed over me. "Who? What do you mean?" "Your lineage carries the bond," the bigger figure hissed. "She resides within. Only through sacrifice may the truth be revealed." I felt a sinking sensation, as if the ground was giving way beneath me. Who were they talking about? The air around us trembled with tension. Something horrible was about to unfold. A low growl rumbled from the tree line, pulling my attention. The eyes were no longer just watching, they were moving closer. Shadows slithered around the edges of the clearing. They were gathering, drawn by the disturbance. "Not safe! You must choose!" the larger figure shouted over the growing noise. Without thinking, I raised both lockets before me, unsure of what power they truly held. Glinting metal in the moonlight felt heavy with expectations I didn't understand. And then I realized I had to decide. I could learn more, explore this unfathomable truth, or run and forget it all. But as the dark figures pressed in and the air rang with ominous whispers, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't back down now. With a shaky breath, I stepped closer to the figures, determination outweighing my fear. "All right," I said, "show me the truth." Suddenly, everything went dark. I felt a rush, followed by a disorienting stillness. It was like stepping into a thick fog. Everything around me faded. My breath hitched in my throat, and I reached out, trying to find something, anything to hold on to. Then, as suddenly as it had vanished, the darkness lifted. I stood in a different place, surrounded by a cold, silvery mist. The shadows were gone, replaced by swirling forms that danced in the distance. I took a hesitant step forward, squinting to make sense of my surroundings. "What is this?" I murmured, unsure if I was dreaming. The mist coiled around me, whispering in a language I couldn't understand. I felt weightless, almost like I wasn't quite part of this world. From the haze, a figure emerged, familiar yet different. It was the smaller shadow from before, now solid and ethereal. "Welcome," it said, its child's voice echoing gently. "You have stepped into the boundary." "The boundary," I repeated, confusion swirling in my mind. "Between worlds," the shadow replied, glancing back toward the mist, "where truth and lies intertwine. Here you can see her." Before I could ask who, the fog thickened until it formed an image. I squinted, the silhouette of a woman appearing just beyond my grasp. Her features were soft, but the sadness in her eyes pierced through the mist. "Is that—" I trailed off, my heart racing. "Is that my mother?" "Yes," the shadow confirmed, still soft and melodic. "But she is lost, trapped in the past. The lockets you possess, torn between loyalty and betrayal, they hold the key." "The key to what?" Panic welled in my chest. "What am I supposed to do?" The shadow shifted, sorrow etched in its form. "Only through your choice can you release her. You must decide." I felt the weight of the lockets pulse in my hands. They seemed to burn against my palms. I wanted to scream, to demand answers. But the mist thickened, the images warped and twisted, showing flashes of memories that tugged at my heart. Suddenly, a loud crack shattered the silence. I turned, breathless, as shadows emerged from the edges of the fading mist. They swirled with an anger that made my pulse race. "You can't be here," they echoed, voices a cacophony of rage. "You were not summoned. What do you want?" I yelled, backing away. The new figures advanced, their shapes melding together as they reached for me. "No, stop!" The panic surged through me, and I raised the lockets, but their energy felt weak. The shadows snarled, growing closer. I couldn't breathe. The ground trembled beneath my feet, threatening to swallow me whole. "Make your choice!" the smaller figure cried, desperately glancing at the encroaching darkness. "Please!" I shouted as the panic turned my thoughts into a chaotic whirlwind. "Tell me what to do." And that's when I realized I had no other options. I needed to choose between sacrificing one reality to save another. With the shrill cries ringing in my ears, I summoned all my courage and shouted, "I choose to break the bond!" The shadows froze, their eyes fixing on me in an unnatural stillness. It was now or never. As I felt the power surge from the lockets, a blinding light erupted. But just then, I caught a glimpse of the woman's face, and it twisted into a reflection of sheer terror, leaving me with the chilling realization that I might have just doomed us all. The blinding light swallowed me whole, wrapping around my body like a tightening fist. I felt the shadows recoil, their howls of anger replaced by an eerie silence. My heart raced, thumping loudly in my ears as the brightness began to melt away. I braced myself for what was next. When the light finally dimmed, I found myself standing in the same mist, but everything felt different. I was not alone. The woman from the vision stood before me, her figure clearer now. She looked just as I remembered, but the sadness in her eyes was even more profound. I reached out, desperate to bridge the gap between us. "Mom." The words spilled from my lips in a breathless whisper. "Is it really you?" Her gaze shifted, glancing toward the edges of the mist, as if aware of something lurking just out of sight. "My child," she said, her voice a haunting melody that echoed through the stillness. "You've come so far, but you shouldn't have broken the bond." "What do you mean?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. "I wanted to save you." "I am trapped in the shadows," she replied, her voice breaking. "You've unleashed forces you cannot control." Before I could respond, the mist thickened again, and shadows twisted angrily, re-emerging from the depths of the fog. With a furious growl, they rushed towards us, their forms shifting and writhing with wild energy. Panic surged within me. "What do I do?" I cried out, clutching the lockets tightly. "Hold the truth close," my mother urged. "It is your only protection." The shadows surged forward, closing in rapidly, their mouths stretching wide with fury. I felt the lockets heat in my hands, a strange energy pulsing through me. I closed my eyes for just a moment, trying to steady my frantic thoughts. Holding on to the truth felt heavy, but I couldn't falter. I had to believe it mattered. Then everything changed. The shadows froze, momentarily halted in their advance. I gasped as white light erupted from the lockets, illuminating the mist and casting away the darkness. I could feel the pull of the bond being restored, yet it felt incomplete. The shadows screeched in defiance, their forms flickering erratically. One of the figures broke from the pack, moving faster than the others. It lunged for me. Instinctively I stepped back, the lockets raised as a barrier. "Stop!" I yelled, fear coursing through me. In that instant the lockets flared brighter, amplifying the energy I sought to channel. The shadow struck the barrier and was thrown back, though its defeated howl echoed chillingly in my ears. I couldn't let my guard down. They were still coming. Suddenly I remembered my mother's words, the truth. "I know who you are," I shouted, more to myself than anyone else. "You are part of her story." This realization sent a jolt through the air. In response, the locks in my hands vibrated violently, and an unseen force nearby trembled. It was a wild card, and instinct took over. I let the energy pierce through me and shouted, "You can't have us!" The fog swirled violently around me, dark tendrils clashing with the light. But something else began to form. Threads of connection, memories unspooling between us. I needed to unravel this mystery before it was too late. Then I saw it. Out of the chaos, a new figure began to take shape. Something I hadn't noticed before. Someone I was sure I recognized, but had dismissed in my fear. That's when I realized it was someone I never thought I would see again. I blinked against the overwhelming brightness, confusion washing over me as the mist swirled and shifted, revealing a third figure shrouded in light. "Grandmother?" My voice came out barely more than a whisper, disbelief heavy in the air. "Yes," she said, her voice like a distant echo. "Long have I waited within this boundary." She reached out, her hand extending towards me, palm open. "You carry our legacy. The shadows can't claim us while the bond remains." The encroaching darkness hesitated, swirling around me like angry smoke. I clutched the lockets, feeling their power surge within me, vowed to protect the connection that tethered my family. Tiny voices whispered, bouncing off the clearing, pleading and taunting. Shadows twisted and contorted with rising fury, but the fierce light from the lockets held them at bay. Grandmother's presence was firm, yet gentle, grounding me amidst the chaos. To break the cycle, the truth must be revealed. They cannot take what you refuse to relinquish. "I can't fight them alone," I shouted, heart racing at the advancing shadows, their hunger palpable. "What am I supposed to do?" "Accept that your lineage is entangled in a web of shadows and light," she instructed. "You must face the truth that binds your family together, even within the dark." I felt a tremor ripple through the fabric of my existence. The shadows surged forth, an amalgamation of rage and sorrow that was almost tangible. With trembling hands, I raised the lockets higher. "I won't let you take her," I shouted, determination sparking from within the depths of my soul. As if in response, the light intensified, and the shadows recoiled, forming a dark cyclone at the edge of the clearing. "You cannot hold us!" they roared, voices layered with fury and desperation. "You cannot know the truth!" The surrounding atmosphere vibrated as the bond of light pushed back against the darkness. My heart raced as whispers echoed, but they felt different this time, not taunting but layered with urgency. "Help us!" some called, while others shrieked in fury. "Stand firm!" Grandmother urged, stepping toward me. "They can only thrive on fear. We hold the truth, together." I steadied my breath, anchoring myself in the dim light. The whispers sharpened, fragments of my mother's past, flickering like images in a dream, spinning tales of family loss and secrets held too close. I felt the truth echoing within the lockets, and surged with newfound strength. With my heart pounding, I shouted, "I will reveal the truth. You'll not win against the light." The lockets flared, and the shadows shrieked as brilliant energy erupted, illuminating the clearing with the gentle warmth of dawn breaking through an endless night. As the light washed over me, I felt the weight of lineage, the stories of those who had come before me pressing close, weaving through every doubt and fear. But then, in the midst of the rising brightness, a shadow lunged at me. I stumbled back, caught off guard, but just in time, Grandmother's hand grasped mine, creating a barrier between me and the dark figure. In that moment, I felt the combined strength of my lineage, the past coursing through me, binding us together against the tide of despair. "Accept the truth," Grandmother urged. "It is the only way to break the shadow's hold." And so I released the lockets into the air, trusting the truth would find its way. They floated between us and the dark figures, glowing brighter than ever, the light now a pulsing beacon. In that instant, everything froze. The shadows drew back, eyes flickering with a mixture of fear and curiosity, as the lockets began to weave a tapestry of light and shadow. Memories flooded the air like whispers, stories of love, losses, and unheard cries intertwining and forming connections. I felt the world shimmering around me, the shadows momentarily merging with the light. I searched as the whispers swirled, hoping to find my answer among them. "What is the truth?" I asked, voicing my inner turmoil as I grasped onto the meaning of it all. But the shadows screeched in rage. "You think you can bind us?" they hissed, launching themselves forward as the whispers intensified, drowning out the surrounding chaos. "You are nothing." I closed my eyes, letting the truth fill me. "I am not alone," I shouted, but it was directed toward the light, to my family, to the bond we shared throughout generations. The weightiness of everything flooded my heart, and suddenly, in the midst of swirling chaos, I opened my eyes to the blinding brightness. The shadows, writhing in defiance, began to dissolve, their screams echoing through the expanse of the clearing. I felt a strange lifting, a release building around me. As silence filled the clearing, I gasped for breath, my heart still racing from the inexplicable rush of power. The shadows had faded, washed away by the vibrant warmth flowing through me from the light. Yet even as I took in the peacefulness settling around me, an unsettling question roiled in my mind. Had I truly defeated them, or merely delayed the inevitable return? "Is it over?" I whispered, but felt no immediate answer. Only the shifting mist remained, and the shadows were dissipated. But whether they were gone for good, that question lingered like a shadow on the edge of my consciousness. With lingering uncertainty, I turned towards Grandmother, an unspoken bond forged from this experience. I felt both connected to my past and uncertain of my future as the light settled in the pale dawn. Answers within reach, yet just beyond a shadow's grasp. What lay ahead felt daunting, a pathway lined with shadows and light weaving through time. And I knew deep down that even though I left Velder Grove behind, I carried its secrets with me, an unfinished story I could not ignore.